It is on this foundation that our 8-point commitments exist. The 8-point commitment is a framework created by our students, parents, and educators that in part guides the work of this district. The catalyst for these commitments was the voice of our educational community and their stated desire to be better and do better for each other and for our students. These commitments were crafted collaboratively over 6 listening sessions. 2 sessions focused on listening to families and staff about changes they would like to see in our school community. 2 sessions focused on reviewing those results and prioritizing high leverage themes. And the last 2 sessions were used to streamline those themes. As a result, and regardless of department, side, grade level, or professional classification, this collaboratively constructed document empowers our intent to be stewards of these commitments. Each of these commitments has a focus that lends to thematic representation. Commitment 1 addresses our responsibility to continuously work on improving climate and culture. Commitment 2 and 6 address our needs to engage difficult conversations around equity, race, and serving students from marginalized communities. Commitment 3 show how we value family and student voice and our focus on expanding and prioritizing those connections. Commitment 4 speaks to equity being a foundation for all of our training, and Commitment 5 addresses the work of our instructionally focused departments and teams. Commitment 7 recognizes that we value diversity throughout our district, and Commitment 8 recognizes the need for interconnected and collaborative approaches to ensuring that all students have access to a rigorous, standards-based education. These are the 4 themes that emerge from our 8 commitments: creating inclusive environments, elevating student and family voice, professional learning, and collaboration. An actor and exemplar for these themes in action will be showcased later when we spotlight Murray Loma High School. Okay, creating inclusive environments requires an intentional effort to cultivate welcoming spaces where everyone feels included, valued, and connected. Students that believe that they are supported by their peers, teachers, leaders, and school communities have different school experiences than those who feel isolated, alone, or different because of how they look, their disability, their language, their accents, the color of their skin, or a myriad of other factors that lead to ridicule and sometimes much more. This type of exclusionary behavior is a barrier to the peace of mind and the safety of students in our district, and we have a collective responsibility to mitigate it. Developing and supporting welcoming environments is equity in action. These 3 examples, equity teams, identity clubs, and our community partners, are a snapshot of the work of all of SAM Unified is committed to engaging in. Our equity teams are site-based and focus their energy on creating welcoming environments and removing barriers to positive experiences for students.
Look in the elementary schools.
At the end of last year, when we emerged from COVID,
Look at that.
we had 5 equity teams.
Motion into elementary.
Our bar graph shows that we currently have 22. Most are in the beginning and
How about going
developmental
after the young
stages, and
kids?
because each site has a unique approach to meeting the needs of their
Young kids.
students and community, each site is constructing their teams in a way that best fits their needs. Our department provides support through consultation, participation in listening sessions, and soon we will be able to provide focus group information about how other sites have established objectives and goals, address challenges, and about their successes. Our identity clubs are examples of the positivity that occurs when students are empowered. The pie chart shows that we have more than 60 identity clubs throughout the district, and each has between 5 and 50 student participants. These clubs are created by students, supported by teacher advisors, and recognized by site leadership. They provide students with safe spaces to talk, share experiences, share frustrations, plan school-wide celebrations and recognitions, and as a result, these students feel included and empowered while being valued and seen. One of the many great examples of this was shared at last board meeting when Encina's presenters identified the impact of their BSUs, that their BSUs had on leading and shaping their Black History Month activities into well-received events at their school. Another example will be shared by Vice President of Mira Loma's Black Student Union later this evening when she speaks to the way that her BSU has impacted her high school experience. The pie chart on the previous slide represented the breakdown of the types of identity clubs. This bar chart shows how many of our students
Look at all
find
of the
community in
black
multiple
and
clubs.
gay.
This is a great
That's all
example of
it's about.
intersectionality
Black
and how our students
and
embrace
gay.
their identity. It also
Two
informs
bars.
our efforts to make our schools a
Top
welcoming
bar is
place of
black.
belonging and connectedness.
The other bar is LGBTQ.
A complement to the bar chart on the previous slide can be found here. On that slide, we showed how identity clubs are embraced by our students. The student responses on this slide are in their own words and explain how they value identity clubs and what they mean to them. The bar chart on this slide further shows that our identity clubs are integral to our positive high school experiences for those who choose to participate. Our community partners are important contributors to creating inclusive environments for students. We call them partners because they have a kindred spirit of understanding what equity is, and that student growth and success is in part determined by warm demanders who have two hallmarks. One is warmth and respect and communication and affirmation, and two is that high expectation, high effort, and hard work are not optional, they are required. As a result, our community partners are seen as part of the educational communities that they serve, not visitors and not outsiders. Their support for students include, but are not limited to, building confidence, developing their voice, improving and using interpersonal communication, showing compassion and empathy, and embracing positive self-identity.
Bar graphs don't lie.
In partnership with schools and depending on their scope of work, improved attendance, disciplinary, and academic outcomes occur as well. Their support of San Juan Unified also includes facilitation of listening sessions for our students and parents, and it includes sharing their perspectives on how to support our school sites when demeaning and belittling actions occur, like racial epithets and N-word being written on school walls, spray painted swastikas, and various forms of hate speech that are brought to our sites. They are a talented group, and if you'd like more information about them, please see attachment B. This snapshot of January shows that our community partners serve 1,245 students. This is a typical month for our partners as they consistently operate at capacity. They are currently present in 21 schools, and depending on the program, they're at sites between 1 and 5 days per week. All are looking to expand. However, they face the same challenges that we do with recruiting and hiring due to the shortage of educators and changing economy.
No one wants to work in this environment.
In spite of that challenge, our partners have flourished. And to bring the work of our community partners a little closer to you, we are showcasing IYT, or Improve Your Tomorrow. The data here provides a great example of success and the impact that community partners can have on our students. This data shows what can happen when authentic partnerships are forged at school sites between our community partners, the staff, and students. IYT has been with San Juan since 2018, and as a result, they have strong ties and relationships, which have resulted in data that reflect a positive impact on the whole child.
Almost 30% less in this district than the state.
Here, you can see what students and parents have to say about IYT. The data on the previous slide shows the academic impact that a partnership can have on students. The comments and pictures on this slide are additional testimony to the power of engaged partners in meaningful partnerships. There is interconnectedness of commitments and themes that emerge from our 8-point commitments. The coordinator of our Equity and Student Achievement Department, Lori Vine, will speak to how our second theme shows up as equity in action.
Here's your LGBT.
As a district, we continue to be deeply committed to listening to student, staff, and community voice. Two examples of departments currently engaged in this work are the Family and Community Engagement Department, or FACE, and the Office of Student Learning Assistance, or OSLA. PACE department has been instrumental in collecting feedback related to LCAP goals and outreach efforts for our families, as well as helping to diffuse racial tension that has occurred in several of our schools through their work with our community partners. We also provide ongoing support and resources to our families through listening sessions, training, and mobile outreach. The Office of Student Learning Assistance has offered parent workshops and listening sessions that have given us valuable insight into what many of our families need from us. For example, in the last 2 months alone, 168 refugee students have entered our district, nearly 100 of which are from Russia or Ukraine. Many of these families in the larger community have shared that English language acquisition needs to be a priority, and so the Office of Student Learning Assistance has put into place many supports. Supports that include English language development classes, the use of Lexia, which is a software platform to help learn English for all of our newcomers, English classes for parents at school sites and in their homes, including apartment complexes, Saturday Academy, which focuses on English language acquisition as well as navigating the school system for students and parents, and various other summer programs. OSLA has also collaborated with our department to offer a community luncheon where students were able to come together after having experienced racial tension on their campus. This helped build a bridge between the students and give them opportunities to connect with one another. Our department has also supported sites with opportunities for student listening sessions around site-specific or identity-specific concerns. Some of these concerns that have been shared are related to safety, identity, acts of racism, the need for more gender-neutral bathrooms and changing areas, and the need to have a more restorative approach to discipline. One of the biggest issues that's been raised by students across the district at many of our schools is the need to update our dress codes. We are lucky to have an amazing student advocate here with us today to share a little bit more about the power of student voice leading to action within the district. It's my honor to introduce to you a member of our Superintendent Student Advisory Council, a member of our LCAP Parent Advisory Council, and a founding member of the Rio Americano Equity Team, a senior at Rio Americano, Serena Duran. Welcome, Serena.
Good evening, my name is Serena Duran, and today I'm here to talk about my experience with the Equity Department and the district. And that experience has been one where my voice as a student has been elevated. Now, the elevation of student voice is extremely important. The decisions made in this room and in this building directly affect my peers and I. So it's important for students to have a say in the issues that the district focuses on as we are impacted the most. Now, during my 4 years of high school, I've been fortunate to have my voice elevated in many different ways. I've had the privilege to serve on the Rio Equity Team, where I've been able to work with other students to elevate issues important to us and tackle them together. We've been able to create subcommittees that address topics of cultural diversity, positive staff and student relationships, and issues of dress code. I've also been a member of the Superintendent Student Advisory Council for the last 3 years. I joined during Superintendent Kern's term, and I'm happy to continue to work with Superintendent Massanelli. With both of these superintendents, I've experienced an environment where my stories as a student are valued in decision-making processes. And under both of these superintendents, we've worked to change the dress code. And this brings me to my next point. The current Stan 1 Unified Dress Code is extremely outdated. It includes language that undeniably targets girls, students of particular body types, and has words that are subjective to the enforcer.
Jesus.
Now, the Equity Department has spoken to several groups of students at different school sites about this dress code, and the qualitative data has shown that it's clear that students want to see a change in their code. Now, so SAC was focused on this initiative and was able to release a survey to students last year. Now, the survey received nearly 4,500 responses, the largest respondent number in recent years to a district survey, which can show us that students do care about this issue. Now, 65% of these respondents believed that the dress code was unfair to certain groups of students. And as you can see, 85% of those respondents believed that the code was unfair to students based on gender. Now, I've been working with the District Dress Code Committee, and we are in the process of drafting a new code to present to the board later this year. Now, this new code was created by student voice, student advocacy, and student work for students in this community. I want to conclude my time by stating the most important thing I've experienced in this district over the past year, something I urge all of you to keep in mind moving forward. I've had the opportunity to work in wonderful spaces in this district and speak with some very important people who have talked to me, listened to me, and most importantly, worked with me as if I were their peer or colleague, even though I've only been 17 and 18. This experience has been extremely rewarding as a student. I know that I have a voice in this district, and the kids that I go to class with every day also have a voice that's equally important. As we continue to reform our dress code, and as any other issues are raised by students and presented to this board, I urge you to value and elevate student voice. Thank you. I will now hand it back to Mr. Gilbert.
So Ray Ward? Oh, Harama,
Professional development, that's our next thing.
another leftist.
It's our third thing.
Oh my God.
Our educational partners have deemed it
Oh my
important. We all know that this is important. Because when we know better, we do better. So it makes sense for us to make this investment. Our focus on creating a welcoming culture and climate can be found in our differentiated approach to meeting the needs of leaders and administrators, supporting staff throughout the district, embracing the exemplary work of our professional learning and curriculum innovation department, and providing access to tools that are needed to counteract bias, disrupt discrimination, and remove barriers to working in authentically inclusive environments. For example, our Equity Summits provided our district administrators, managers, and supervisors with the opportunity to participate in professional development that provided access to some of the tools that we use to counteract our biases, introduced the tools that other departments use to counteract bias and support students through the lens of their work, and then provided opportunities to develop and practice using those tools in scenarios, one-on-one role plays, and in consultancies where administrators shared and addressed actual challenges from their sites and departments. We also partnered with our senior leadership team to provide 71 site-based leadership teams and departments from throughout the district with training on counteracting bias and improving outcomes for students through common goals, cooperation, and building trusting environments. Our work with our K-12 directors and assistant superintendents has helped us plan and deliver presentations at principal and vice principal meetings in order to practice collectively navigating equity-based scenarios and role plays and create a space for all of our leaders to discuss ways to tackle difficult equity issues at their sites. These and the additional listed events in this table are described in attachment C. Collectively, they show commitments that our administrators have made to educational equity. I'm going to finish the slide. I'll give you a minute to look.
Professional development for equity, district leaders, hundreds and hundreds of people.
Here you can see 8 different areas of professional development that the equity department has focused on over the last 2.5 years. This bar graph of our optional professional development shows how well these options have been received. This first bar, counteracting bias training, has been a focus this year and will be expanded to counteracting bias pathways that will include options titled Knowing Your Why, Knowing Your Strengths, Counteracting Unconscious Bias, Supporting LGBTQ+ students and staff, Supporting Native American students, and Supporting Afghan students. All of the listed professional developments and opportunities above are further described in attachment C. Equity is a district-wide commitment to engaging equitable actions. One of the many departments that provide engaging professional development
grading
options is
patients.
the Professional Learning and Innovation
They're going
Department,
to give people grades based on their
also
skin
known as
color.
PLI. The PLI
and their
department
poverty.
embeds equity in all of their professional learning sessions, and a few of which that are on this slide. They have focused on ensuring that instructional materials and experiences provide many opportunities for students to see themselves and others reflected in what they're learning. And the department is currently collecting student voice around what more and should be done in this area. Grading practices have also been an ongoing topic of conversation in many of our schools and departments.
Equitable grading.
have been a topic of conversation at many of our schools, and the department supports that work through book studies and site collaboration. The quotes on this page show the work described on the previous slide was well received by district practitioners. These comments are samplings of feedback that the PLI department received about the work that they have been facilitating, and they illustrate how teachers who participate in these professional learning opportunities are finding ways to embed their learning in their practice. The PLI and Equity Department, Equity and Student Achievement Department also collaborate to provide professional development. Recently, we worked together with our principals to discuss historical reenactments and our responsibility to ensure that we provide students with
Social
accurate learning
Justice
experiences that
Institute.
provide multiple perspectives of historical events.
The Museum of Tolerance.
These efforts are supported throughout our partnership with Sac State professors, described in Attachment B,
Sac State.
and our trips to the Museum of Tolerance, described in Attachment C. Both work with educators who are interested in gaining deeper understanding of how our instructional decisions can impact the well-being of all students. In addition, the Equity and PLI departments have been engaging in conversations with the Office of the Superintendent to identify ways to include students in discussions about increasing their interests and passions for learning. Creating informed pathways for students to contribute to district curricular decisions is currently being explored. The Equity and Student Achievement Department has also partnered with K-8 and 9-12 teaching and learning directors. This year, it has been to support our district's effort around identifying, developing, and using tools and frameworks for the purpose of making effective equity-based decisions and engaging in equity-based actions. This is in large part because this is who we are, it aligns with our 8-point commitment, and because our equity-based challenges are significant. They include, but are not limited to, supporting families from marginalized communities that feel disconnected from their school communities, responding to families who struggle to navigate the educational system and overcome barriers to communication, and building community because of language and cultural differences, addressing the needs of refugee students and other English learners who feel unwelcomed and isolated, navigating struggles and authentically addressing exclusionary disciplinary data, struggling to address current interracial, ethnic, and cultural conflicts that have off-site roots in housing displacement and have been occurring between our African American and Afghan communities and our Hispanic and Afghan communities, combating the use of racist, hateful language at their sites, and unequivocally standing against racist propaganda when it's spread in the residential communities that support these schools. To engage these discussions, meetings, creating action plans, and addressing the primary and ancillary challenges that come from these issues, we have focused some of our professional development on the following: reflecting on our knowledge of self and counteracting biases, that's the equity lens up there, asking questions about the impact of our decisions and actions on our marginalized communities, that's our 4 questions, which are: who does this decision impact? Whose voices and perspectives are missing? How does this decision impact our most marginalized communities? What assumption or implicit biases might be present? Similarly, the cultural proficiency continuum, that's the rainbow colored one, asks us to identify daily scenarios on a continuum of destructive to proficient behaviors and continually make decisions that make our responses move toward proficiency. Additional professional development has been on creating truly inclusive environments, understanding what prevents us from being the advocates and catalysts we want to be, and disrupting and interrupting bias, bigotry, and discrimination. Department collaboration is the 4th and final theme that emerges from the 8-point commitment. While all of these themes are important, this one clearly shows that equity work is prevalent throughout San Juan Unified. This focus on the way that these listed departments address educational equity through their work further shows that equity is not a program. Rather, it is a mindset, an approach, and action that focuses on removing barriers to teaching and learning and improving educational environments for all students. This responsibility falls to all of us, and as such, we embrace it. The work of the Human Resources Department includes their partnership with the Alder Graduate School of Education, which allows participants to earn their credential and master's degree in just 1 year while getting hands-on experience with students in San Juan Unified Schools, while they partner also and work closely with mentor teachers and learn alongside other resident participants. Tuition supports and scholarships of up to $10,000 are available. Our family and community engagement, career and technical education, and equity departments are working collaboratively with the Sacramento State Center for Transformational Educator Preparation Program to augment and create a future pipeline of opportunity for students through teacher clubs at middle and high schools and dual enrollment and teacher CTE options at high school level that will intentionally improve access to teacher preparation before and during college. Student Support Services collaboration is focused on expanding support for many of our most marginalized students. Our highlight has been expanding before and after school bridges programs
Expanding
at
immunization
the elementary,
clinics.
K-8, and middle school levels,
Expanding
and providing access to
clinics
expanded
for housing,
learning opportunities.
for counseling,
Additionally,
for
an
low-income
area of
students.
focus has been on
mental
providing
health
increased
workers.
resources for our unhoused students and families, which has included new monthly drive-through food distribution events in partnership with the Sacramento Food Bank. Over the last several months, thousands of families have accessed fresh food through these events. Student support services also continues to increase our access to much needed support, student mental health services through the White House Counseling Center and multi-tiered systems of support. Through a referral-based system, mental health practitioners are able to eliminate transportation barriers for families and directly provide students with behavioral health support at their school sites. Ongoing conversations and professional development with our principals and VPs have also occurred on a monthly basis and focus on disproportionate suspension rates and equitable discipline practices. The work of the Special Education Department showcases their collaboration with school site staff and their work to ensure interventions and supports are available to all students. This support is provided in various ways, such as attending student intervention team meetings, providing professional development for all staff, and parent workshops and training. Special education teams are comprised of school psychologists, mental health therapists, behaviorists, and program specialists who support behavior and crisis intervention at the site level. In the 22-23 school year, the work of the multi-tiered Systems of Support Department and the Student Support Center's multidisciplinary team has been able to provide social, emotional, behavioral, and mental health supports to our students. The team consists of school counselors, school social workers, mental health therapists, school psychologists, school nurse, academic intervention specialists, social emotional support technicians, and coordinators. The goal is to provide targeted supports and evidence-based interventions to students so that they are able to effectively access educational opportunities and achieve their full potential. This team works in partnership with school sites and district departments to ensure an efficient support system for all students. In San Juan Unified, we have invested in developing network improvement
Equal
communities to
opportunity
ensure that
school.
specifically identified schools and groups receive the supports they need to emerge from state-identified improvement-based designations.
They're going to
Teams of
graduate kids
educators
based on
from
the
multiple
understanding of their
departments,
root
sites,
causes.
and educational disciplines work
their
with site
problems at
personnel
home.
and teachers to identify strategies for implementation
So if
in a
you're
continuous improvement
poor,
model. The Equal Opportunity Schools program exists at all of our high schools and provides our sites with opportunities to address the underrepresentation of students of color in advanced placement, international baccalaureate, and in dual enrollment classes. Through this partnership with EOS, capable students are identified, encouraged to enroll, and provided with necessary supports for success. The goal of EOS is to have participation and completion percentages of our marginalized student groups match the highest enrollment and completion percentages at the school. For example, if a site has 40% of the white and Asian population in advanced placement, international baccalaureate and dual enrollment classes, and that is the highest enrollment and completion percentage in the school, then we want other subgroups, being students of color, foster youth, special education, and so on, to be at the same percentage. Prior to being derailed by COVID, the data showed that we had made significant gains towards achieving these goals. And now that we have reached a level of normalcy, these programs are again being supported at our high schools. In its totality, the work of the San Juan Unified School District engages in to support equitable actions and outcomes reflect a district-wide commitment to equity work. This is because equity work is the work of making sure that all students, especially those from marginalized communities, are provided with specialized and differentiated supports from all of the departments and sites that will ensure success and equitable outcomes. We are committed to that version of equity. On that foundation, it gives me great pleasure to spotlight Mira Loma High School as an exemplar of the work that is going on in our district. I'd like to welcome Principal Cletus Purington and Black Student Union Vice Principal Elroy Kumalo to the podium.
So there you go, Black Student Union. So blacks are represented everywhere. They're promoted, especially blacks.
Thank you for having us.
Let's see how well she speaks with all this equity.
Last year, I didn't feel very connected to the community on our campus. But after getting involved into the VSU, I felt more connected to my community. Not just people who look like me, but the people who share the same struggle as me and my people, and the people who were allies to us. VSU gave me an opportunity to lead in a club and gave me a purpose by making a difference.
Must be nice to have allies, huh?
It has allowed me to help others
Racial
stand in the place
allies.
that I was in last year.
Can't have
And
your
it's a
own
good
back
feeling
in
to
our
know that I'm
state.
able to help others just like the VSU helped me. Friday before last, on the 17th, Maryland Buxton Union held an event called Black Renaissance Day. Black Renaissance Day was a way to connect VSUs in our community.
Black
and within
Renaissance
our,
Day.
Schools, letting students know that we're supported by our teachers in our district, and was helpful in building trust. An opportunity for students to sign up for college through UCAN and for other HBCU opportunities with scholarships. English, art, social studies, math, music, and math all contributed to this day, and showing how Black and African Americans affected our country. Clubs like Latinos Unidos, Filipino Club, and P Sharps also contributed to that day and meant a lot to us. Skits and other educational opportunities to bring light to topics like the issue of the use of the N-word and doing anti-racist work. And having eight other BSU clubs on our campus provided a way to bring our schools together and build a community. Some BSU clubs,
Anti-N-word
like
rhetoric.
El Camino, did an African dance, and they did another dance, and then other schools brought some posters and were helping out. After school, we had a block party when we all, there was an opportunity to get food, and it felt like to me, a big like family cookout, and it just felt really good to like see all of us dancing and singing together and playing games. And it felt really good celebrating African Americans.
Thank you, everybody. Good evening, everybody, and thank you, Dr. Calvine and Mr. Field, really for the opportunity for us to just share some of the work at Mira Loma. He used the words exemplary, and I would say it's been messy. We're a work in progress, so I don't feel like we deserve that high of a praise. I would say that
Lie about
one of the things
success.
that's been very special about this is the support that we've had at the district level and with our equity department in this work to commit that all students have the opportunity to learn and to fulfill our 8-point commitment to educational justice. Unfortunately, to be honest, most of our work that we've done that I'm going to highlight tonight has been as a result of us responding to challenges and unfortunate circumstances, conflict within our community. Mira Loma is a very diverse campus. We
Black and
have,
Afghans are fighting.
Last time I did a little research on this, we had 46 different languages represented at our school. And so, as much as that's a high attribute for our school, it's also challenging work. And to have that many different student body cultures represented does create opportunities for conflict. And in the last 2 years, we've had several different racial incidents and racial tension on our campus. In 2021-22, we started recognizing that we needed to hear from our students and our families, because we were missing something. We weren't understanding what some of the tension was. We weren't understanding actually a lot about our students, because we were just coming out of COVID. And so the listening sessions that we did really helped us develop stronger relationships with our families and our students, and it helped us understand what we need to do to respond to the needs of our students. We formed an equity team, and it wasn't on purpose, it just kind of happened. As we started doing these listening sessions, the idea came from our leadership team, where each of us on the leadership team, all 9 of us, were going to select 5 students that we knew. We wanted to make sure we had a very diverse representation of our campus, so we made sure with all different grade levels, ethnic backgrounds. We wanted to make sure it was a true reflection of our school. So we brought about 45 students together to just hear from them. What's going well at Mira Loma? What are the challenges? And from that came our equity team. About half of those students decided they wanted to continue in that work. Elroy is one of those students. And they continued every month. We did listening sessions. We had Christina Sparks that kind of guided us in that work. And they developed action steps to work with our leadership team on how do we address school-wide issues of safety? How do we address the issues of racial tension? How do we address improving relationships between teachers and students on our campus? And other issues too, academic related. There was a strong feeling on our campus that students felt that IB students got preferential treatment on our campus. Those kind of things were real issues that we needed to address. And as a result of that, working with our equity team, our students that were involved in this, and they came up with a name for themselves, Students for Change. We developed a couple of action steps early on this school year. One of them was developing a tardy policy to address the safety issues that they brought to our attention at our first staff meeting together in person last April. So they had the courage to get up in front of our staff and talk about their concerns, and we responded right away by creating a policy as a staff that we were committed to all following. We also, over the summer, we had 100 students and 40 teachers commit to coming together and working on developing a club called ML Connect, which was going to be focused on mentoring our freshmen and getting them connected to their peers and also to the staff, so they had strong relationships as they came into our school. One of the things that I really want to highlight tonight was, and probably the most powerful movement towards the Black Renaissance Day. A student wrote a letter to me back about a year ago at this time. And I walked into my office and I see this letter on my desk and I start reading through it. And right away, I knew that it wasn't something I could just throw aside. I needed to respond to this letter. The student talked about being a student in our district, her entire educational experience. She was a 10th grader and she was frustrated with the fact that she had never had a teacher in all of those years recognize contributions of African American Blacks in our country. And she said that she's seen that our school values diversity. We do a lot to represent culture, but we're missing the Black culture. We're missing African Americans. We're not doing enough for that particular culture. It was an angry letter, so I'm summarizing in a way that wouldn't have been how she wrote it. I had her come into my office. I told her that I was really proud of her for taking the time to write this and to having the courage to do so. And I asked her, what did she want? Well, you wrote this letter, you took time to do this. What were you
What do you
hoping
want?
would happen
Do you
as a
want to be
result?
president of a
I
club?
want to know, as your principal, I want to know,
What do you want?
what is it that we can do
Make you happy.
to address this concern? And she said she wanted change. She said, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I want change. And so I encouraged her to get involved in the BSU club. I encouraged her to, I actually We have an international studies program that really does most of these cross-curricular projects and activities related to our different cultures on our campus. And I told her that she would be a great candidate to get involved in that, because that's where a lot of our educational curriculum is developed, and she would have a chance to be, one of the leaders in that type of work. And I also told her I was committed to reading the letter to our staff, and I said, I don't know what's going to happen as a result of that. I'm going to read your letter to our staff, and I'm going to ask them to be reflective and think about it. And this process isn't going to happen overnight, but it's going to take some time for our staff to hear your perspective along with other students and try to address some of these concerns. So as I was reading the letter to the staff, I think I was just about finished, my phone is blowing up. We're on Zoom still, and one of our teachers sent me a text saying, we got this, we're on this, we're going to make this happen. And so immediately the next week, this teacher, along with the international studies teachers, got together and started talking about what they wanted to do to support BSU and to make this an educational experience to really reflect the culture that represents about 10% of our student body. So
10%.
that's
half the representation.
that's the heart of it, and I'm not
Crazy.
saying that to take credit. I'm sharing that story with you guys because I want you to hear how responsive our staff has been to student feedback. And our students, El Wright, along with others, have been incredibly courageous. Today the last day of February, in our student bulletin, we had a BSU wrote up a nice letter that they wanted to share, thanking the students for being a part of Black Renaissance Day, and then having the courage to talk about, again, addressing the N-word and how that impacts the students on our campus. There's a lot, and as a principal, there's part of me that doesn't want to say yes to those things, wants to say, no, that could cause controversy, that's going to create an issue on our campus, but I also know that it's necessary, it's important, and these students are hungry for change, and as a principal, it makes it easy for me to say yes, because I know that the leadership that they have and the commitment that our staff has made, we're united in this work, and we really want our students and staff to feel, we really want our students to know that they are supported and valued for what they bring to our campus. I also want to highlight that over the last 5 years, we've added a lot of these partnerships that were addressed earlier in the presentation. Improve Your Tomorrow has been on our campus since 2018, and that's been instrumental. One of the things I'll just highlight about Improve Your Tomorrow, during COVID, when we were in distance learning, we were searching for ways to try to support our kids and figure out how to get them the resources they needed. How do we address students not coming on Zoom? A lot of students were failing at that time. When we looked at our data and we were looking at grades, majority of the students that were in the IYT program were doing quite well because they had a connection. They were still meeting on Zoom. They had the brotherhood that had been established before COVID started, and they were invested in their education. And a big part of it was being part of a community. We've added recently this year, a program called GEMS, Girls Empowerment Mentoring and Support, and that's kind of our female version of IYT to support our female students of color and to provide that same type of mentoring and support. We've been working with a program called EAOP, Early Outreach Opportunity Partnership through UC Davis, to identify students of diverse backgrounds that have potential and to help them be successful and reach meeting the A through G requirements and getting into a four-year university. We've also partnered with UCAN, where many of our students have been accepted into historically Black colleges and universities and had support for enrolling in four-year schools through that program. Another program that I believe Patrice from says is here tonight, and they've been instrumental in when we talk about student voice. We've had that program on our campus for a number of years, and we've had many students get involved in that program, and I think to see their engagement increase, to see their attendance improve, to see their grades improve, because they feel like they're connected on our campus has been instrumental. And then lastly, I just want to highlight Sacramento Youth Organization. That's been a great program for us, a mentoring program for our refugee students. And a lot of times the students that have been involved in that program have gone through it, end up getting hired, and now they have the opportunity to help their community by being a mentor to middle school and elementary students. We've also done a lot of work with our professional development. And this year, we've partnered with Lori Vine on a couple of issues. One of them has been just overall making our campus more inclusive. And the second one is, the RIR protocol, recognize, interrupt, and repair. When we talk about how do we interrupt hate speech, how do we interrupt derogatory comments, how do we interrupt any kind of exclusive language that takes place on our campuses, what we're really trying to do is create a uniform, consistent way that we address that, and how do we repair that with our students and our community. So that's been really powerful, and we still have a lot of work to go there in that area. And as you guys heard about equal opportunity schools a little bit earlier, I want to highlight that as well, because one of our main goals at our site is to increase the number of students that are graduating college and career ready. And so, we're known for the International Baccalaureate program at Mira Loma, which is about 40% of our students. But 60% of our students don't come to Mira Loma for that program. And our goal is to provide access to that program for all students. That any student that comes to Mira Loma that wants to be an IB student has the opportunity and is given the support to be successful. And so that's been something that's been very powerful, partnering with them to provide more access. We're also adding a new IB program called Career Program next year, and the goal of that is to give students opportunities to explore college and career. So students would complete an IB course their junior and senior year, and they would also complete a CTE pathway, and they would get a certificate recognition through IB for that. So those are some of the things that I just wanted to share with you guys and highlight tonight. I am thankful for the support that we've had at the district level, because this equity work is the most important thing that we can do to support all students and make sure all students have bright futures. And we've come a long way, and we still have a long way to go in this work. So thank you. At this time, I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Field Ridley.
So with that, I'd like to thank you for giving us the time to come and share with you what's going on in our equity department, and I'd like to open it now to questions.
Wow, that was a whole lot of really important information and such a comprehensive report. So much incredibly important work going on. So we do have visitor comments for this item. If you want to make a comment and haven't filled out a card, you can go see Ms. Rai right over there. Comments are limited to 2 minutes. The clock on the screen counts down the time. Under the Ralph M. Brown Act, the board is not allowed to comment on items that are not on the agenda, so we're not ignoring your comments. That does not apply to this item, it's on the agenda. We just may not respond individually. The superintendent can also refer staff who can follow up with you. Ms. Wright, can you please facilitate public comment?
Of course. First up, we have Ryan Dickman, followed by Heather Taylor.
My name is Ryan Digman. I'm a father in the district. My son is 6 and he's receiving special education services here. This equity work that you guys have talked about is amazing, and you guys have been working so hard to create, all these opportunities. I just want to remind, I'm just up here to remind that we have over 5,700 individuals that are receiving special education services in the district that are really relying on this inclusive environment, this inclusive learning. And I just want to, recommend that, continue this communication with parents and families and students. Asking students, about their experiences and making sure that, they feel these things that we're trying to, get these teachers to teach. My big thing is making sure that, we also, have strong policies in place to help enforce these and help, create buy-in amongst the teachers to really apply these measures throughout the district. And I think that's something that is really important, and at times the district does lack the enforcement aspect, because there is a lot of silos within the district, and each school at times has different ways of approaching these things. We need to collaborate and we need to come together and find those ways to be successful all together. Thank you.
Next, we have Heather Taylor, followed by Luke Taylor.
Hello, good evening. I'm a parent of 2 students here at San Juan, And I thank you and the district for your work in creating equality. Both of my parents, both of my children have been part of programs in equity, and ask that the communication continue to students and parents. Sometimes when we're part of those groups, it takes us a long time to hear it and to respond and then to participate and then to support it. So I just ask that it just continue so we can be part of that. I also ask that we have strong policies in place so that we can reach all of our students, not just the ones that are succeeding or on the outside edge, that we can reach the families who need the support the most, which might take time. Again, thank you for all of your work. Really appreciate being able to give a comment.
Next, we have Luke Taylor, followed by Jay Martinez.
There's Jay Martinez. Is that Jay Martinez?
Good evening, President Greason and members of the board. My name is Luke Taylor. I am a 7th grade student at Will Rogers Middle School. I support my school district in positive, inclusive practices and including in equity in education. I am in special education, usually testing below my grade, and I'm empowered to be here talking to you. I am proud to be here talking to you. Thank you for seeing us and helping us have a voice. It is important to me because I like when all students are supported and included. Thank you.
Next, we have Jay Martinez, followed by Jeffrey Perrine.
Stand right here if you want.
Very nice speech. Good evening, board members. My name is Jay Martinez. I'm a homeowner, a small business owner, and a parent in Orangeville. Come as a concerned parent tonight regarding the equity program with SJUSD. Equity should mean, to me, bringing up kids and giving them the resources needed to succeed academically and professionally, and not lowering standards. It's not clear from the materials available to the public that the focus of the program leads to better test scores for the students. It's disappointing to see recent low CAASPP test scores in Orangeville and surrounding areas, as a substantial amount of new home buyers base where they will live off these scores. I currently opt to send my kids to private school due to some concerns regarding the program and the adoption of it and how it could impact my children. I asked the board today to revisit the program at a future board meeting and to ask if it really creates an environment for students to succeed academically and professionally. I am also asking for transparency on the equity program, as parents should have access to this curriculum in full to see if it is results oriented in achieving the stated mission. Lastly, I ask for a public meeting on the topic to explore the program in more depth. There seems to be many ambiguities in the equity program, and a better understanding or clearer picture of the program would be a good thing for parents and students and community members. I look forward to participating in future public meetings where we can help the program evolve into one that truly brings students the opportunities they need and deserve for a successful future. I'd like to thank you for your service to the board and service to our community. Have a good evening.
Next, we have Jeffrey Perrine, followed by Patrice Hill.
Good evening, board. Good evening, board. My name is Jeffrey Perrine. I'm here as a concerned citizen. I'm here as a person who lives in the community. I ran for office in this district. I had a lot of people who were concerned about the equity. It's a really, really big deal. It's a big topic. A lot of people as parents are concerned. It's very vague, ambiguous. You see the language, the rhetoric is discussing, anti-racist education. When you ask a person of color who can be racist, no one of color can be racist. So when I see anti-racist education, all I see is anti-white education. So we need to stop playing games. I'm not here to talk and play semantics with you guys. I'm a concerned citizen who gained almost 3,000 votes in the local community. I got votes based on my stances and my views. You might be a leftist extremist who wants to be funded by the gay queers of Sacramento. That's your choice. But I have just as much right to represent the Christians and the families that support two genders, marriage between a man and a woman, natural marriage, natural family, all the above, okay? So this equity is just absolute trash. I went to the curriculums meeting 2 weeks ago. It's just all anti-white, anti-Christian, anti-European crap. It is literally work of Marxists, cultural Marxists at that. They're communists and they're anti-white. And I'm going to reiterate it at every meeting I have to come to. It doesn't matter how you label it as anti-racist, anti-whatever, pro-equity. Equity means we all get to the same place, whether that is in a crap hole, unable to read or write or do math, which is what it seems like you guys are happy about. 56% of kids can read, write, and do math? Wow, but 86 are walking out the door with a high school diploma. Wow, they go work at the store and can't read or write or do math? What are you happy about? But you want to talk about equity. You're going to drag everyone down, make sure no one succeeds, so all of our children can't read, write, or do math? How about you start teaching children how to actually be human beings? Not worry about sex all day long, sexualizing our children. Stop grooming our children, you understand? We groom our kids at home to have our values and our morals and our mindset, our beliefs. Thank you, board.
Next, we have Patrice Hill, followed by Mike Casper.
Good evening. My name is Patrice Hill. I'm the director of Sacramento Area Youth Speaks, which is a critical literacy program based out of UC Davis. I've been a community partner with the Department of Equity here since 2015. There is a need for equity in our schools, in our community. There is a need for anti-racist education. There is a need for cultural relevancy. We see the disparities in the schools that we are in every day as we provide direct service to young people who need these services. Community partners increase academic achievement. Not only do they increase academic achievement, they decrease negative behaviors, suspensions, behavior infractions. It's also imperative that young people see cultural relevancy in their curriculum and in their education. As Cleet brought up, there are students in this district that are students of color that have never seen themselves recognized in any curriculum. So I am honored to stand here as a partner of the Equity Department. I will say this, we have been a partner with the Equity Department since 2015. Because of our partnership with the Department of Equity, we have been able to have the National Youth Poet Laureate of the United States, the 21-22 National Youth Poet Laureate from Mira Loma High School, Alexandra Wynn, who represented Sacramento, Mira Loma High School, and San Juan Unified School District on a national platform because of this partnership with the Equity Department. Youth voice, student empowerment, cultural relevancy, and equity are essential tools that young people need to have in their schools and have access to. I'm honored to stand here as a community partner, and I hope that we do not let the rhetoric of discriminating against equity, which is essential, take any part in our schools. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Mike Casper, followed by Murad Mo Sarama.
Ready, set, go. Good evening. My name is Mike Casper, and I am the co-founder and COO of Improve Your Tomorrow, also known as IYT. IYT is a college access and completion program, and it was started in 2013. I co-founded IYT because I believe young men of color have immense potential and possibility. However, when you look at suspension rates, high school graduation rate, college attendance, college completion data, you will see large disparities.
Yeah.
Not because of a lack of ability, but because of lack of resources, exposure, a sense of belonging. So IYT's mission is to increase the number of young men of color to attend and graduate from colleges and universities. Currently, we serve roughly 3,600 students across 64 sites. 8 of them are within San Juan Unified School District. And what makes IYT unique is our 12-year commitment. So we start with students as early as 6th grade, and we continue to support them until they graduate from college. in partnership with counselors, administrators, teachers, folks like Cleet and Barry, we've been able to do some meaningful work over the past 10 years. 99% of our students have graduated high school on time. We have a 56% A through G rate. And that's the power of partnership. That's the power when you bring community alongside school personnel, we can do some meaningful work. It hasn't been easy, but it most certainly has been necessary. So thank you for the opportunity at being able to go alongside you all, at making sure that young people are put on a pathway of success. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with
Next, we have Melissa Romo, followed by Fabrizio Sasso.
I'm for black empowerment, but not when you're using my tax dollars.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. Please excuse my beanie, it's cold out there, cold. All right. Earlier today, I actually picked up my son from his after-school program, and I saw something on the agenda that says presentation about equity. So I asked my son is in first grade, his name is Moses, Jr., and I said, hey, what does equity means to you? He goes, Dad, can I see your phone? I go, sure. He goes, Siri, what does equity means? Cool, so I just gonna read what Siri looked at the web and told my son what is equity means. The term equity refers to fairness and justice, and it is distinguished from equality. So I'm just gonna repeat this. The term equity refers to fairness and justice, and it is distinguished from equality. Whereas equality means providing the same to all. Equity means recognizing that we do not all start from the same place, and we must acknowledge and make adjustment to imbalances. That's what equity,
Throw weights on your legs.
told my son, it means. So the presentation that we heard today, I thank you, Ms. Calvin, and the staff, for providing a great information on what it means for the San Juan Unified School District, what it means for my kids enrolled in those classes,
Yeah, he
what it
gets
means for
another
them
equity
to
case.
establish clubs and be able to be free on the student campuses, be able to embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is what we stand for. This is what we stand for as a community. We are a diverse community.
Yeah, he's
And
wealthy as
embracing
fuck.
equity is a great,
I had to look it up to tell my son, but it's so
sort of like
great.
you guys embrace it as a San Juan Unified School District. So thank you for
Yeah, it
making
doesn't
my
make
kids
sense.
included in the classroom.
Next, we have Fabrizio Sasso, followed by Jennifer Logan.
Fraud.
Good evening, President Creason, members of the board. I'm Fabrizio Sasso, I'm the Executive Director of the Sacramento Central Labor Council. We represent over 100 worker organizations representing 180,000 workers in the greater Sacramento region. We're here today to say that San Juan Unified's commitment to promoting social justice and anti-racism is commendable. Is a commendable example of a school district dedicated to creating a more just and equitable society. The district's efforts to provide students with an education that promotes equality, fairness, and respect for diversity is truly inspiring.
Yeah,
By recognizing and addressing the realities of racism and prejudice, San Juan Unified has taken a proactive step towards creating a more inclusive and accepting community. The district's commitment to anti-racism is reflected in its curriculum and programs, which prioritizes the voices and experiences of marginalized groups and helps to educate students about the impacts of systemic inequality and social injustice. San Juan Unified's efforts to promote social justice-oriented education are particularly noteworthy. By incorporating topics such as race, ethnicity, gender, socioeconomic status into the curriculum, students are exposed to a wide range of perspectives and experiences, which helps foster empathy and understanding. In addition to promoting social justice-oriented education, San Juan Unified is also taking steps to ensure that its schools and classrooms are safe and welcoming spaces for all students and for all
They'll tell you
teachers.
your life experiences.
And all other workers, they classified too, let's not forget them. The district's commitment to equity and inclusion is reflected in its policies, which aim to reduce disparities in access to educational opportunities and support services. Overall, San Juan Unified's commitment to anti-racism and social justice-oriented education is a
Anti-white
model
education.
for other
John
school
Bobble.
districts across the
Yes,
country.
fuck you.
By
Hell yeah.
prioritizing equity, inclusion,
Yeah.
and respect for diversity, the district is
Anti-black
helping to
is
create a
anti-white.
brighter future for all students, one where everyone has an opportunity to succeed and thrive. Regardless of their background.
I'm just not afraid to say shit, and all these other white people are afraid.
My name's Jennifer Morgan. My family has been a part of this community for quite a number of years now. As
CDC, baby, grant money.
I'm just curious about how the system works. I dove in to figure out what I could learn. I joined district committees. I watched board meetings. Very easily, you can come in person or watch them online to take the time to actually observe what's really happening in the reality around here. I thank all of you new board members that are here for participating in your civic duty, as here in the real world, this is where it's happening, not online, where our algorithms are just showing us whatever the case may be.
Right.
I would like to draw attention to the people that are actually doing all of the work here, are present tonight, telling you exactly what we're doing.
Exactly.
And the people that want to contradict that are not even a part inside of this community to see for themselves. They're just following things that they see online on their phones. So as someone that has chaired the Curriculum and Standards Committee a number of times, in fact, my seat was the one that was occupied by Mr. McKibben's appointment, so hopefully you'll replace me with someone equally as committed into pursuing progress in this district.
You won't.
I'd like you all to just be cognizant of separating the discrepancies between coming here with an agenda based on what you're reading on your phone and actually paying attention to what's really happening around here. Perhaps reintroducing some of that digital citizenship curriculum we were talking about trying to do a while back. That might benefit the whole community here if everyone was kind of on the same page about how we're using these tools and not just relying on them as crutches. Thank you.
Next, we have Mary Beth Barber.
Good job.
Hi, my name is Mary Beth Barber. I know many of you because I have been active in, for example, the Parent Advisory Committee for the Local Control Accountability Plan for at least, oh goodness, that started 7 years ago. And I've been watching for now 7 or 8 years, and this kind of work has been asked for ever since I started getting involved. And so thank you so much for really diving in and taking this to heart and doing the work that we're talking about. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of different terms and descriptions for what's happening in our classrooms. So not only am I seeing the work involved with a sense of belonging and multiple perspectives from our entire community, but there's also a tremendous amount of work being done by staff to take a look, or teachers, to take a look at, but it has so many different names, project-based learning, inquiry-based learning, but basically having kids work in teams and explore and really use their cognitive skills in a way that is meaningful. Of taking a look in the district at multilingualism, not as a deficit, but as an advantage for those students. Of really creating a community where the students who attend feel and are recognized as a part of the community. And thank you for doing that, for listening to us for the past close to a decade and doing the work that really needs to be done. Just wanted to say that. Thank you.
And that was our final public comment on this item.
Thank you so much. Board members, questions, comments? Ms. Viescas.
Thank you for the presentation. And I want to start with additional thank yous before I forget. I have a couple of notes written down, forgive me in advance if it's a little bit everywhere, and I'll try not to take up too much time out of respect for my colleagues and for all of our time here. But thank you to the staff who keeps this work going and who shepherds this work every day. From the beginning, we were offered a very thorough history, and from the beginning, this is work I've been proud to not only continue to support, but to be a part of every single day. I think there was a request made during public comment for where's the curriculum, as if we're hiding something. It's not a curriculum. That's what distinguishes this work every single day, because it's not a curriculum. It's not a piece of paper. It's not check boxes that we go through at the end of the year.
It's a political movement. That's what it is.
It is work that happens every single day at every level of engagement throughout our district.
Marxism.
From what happens here in the district office to what happens in our schools every
Bunch of
single day.
social worker commies up here,
For every
folks.
point of this presentation.
Snapping fingers.
And with that, I want to thank our partners who are part of that,
Snap,
because
snap,
it's not
snap,
something
snap,
that we do alone. It's something that we do with every aspect of our community, and we have a number of our community partners in the room. We've got a lot that aren't here. But the piece about recognizing and acknowledging that this is not work that we do on our own, that we can successfully do on our own, is important. We need community partners to show up for us and with us and next to us every single day. And they do, and I will always be grateful for that. And third, I want to thank the students, both the ones who are here, but the ones leading this work every single day.
It's really the black moms. It's not even our kids. The kids are not selling dope and pimping us.
Thank you both very much for your presentations and for just both being here, exemplifying how we do this work for our students, led by students, incorporating student voice, but also for just explaining and kind of walking us through what it means and offering very concrete examples. I think that's important. And it's also important to highlight that there are some efforts, or there's some rhetoric to try to separate this work from the academic perspective, to suggest that it's separate somehow, to suggest that they're not intertwined. And the reason I've always supported this work is because I know exactly that they are. In fact, I experienced that firsthand as a student in this district. A while ago, a long time ago, fighting my way into the higher achieving programs, because it wasn't believed that that's where I belonged.
You don't.
To begin with.
You don't belong there.
At that time, you could count on two hands, the number of students in the IB program and on the free and reduced lunch program.
Good.
And the reason I believe in this work is because when I graduated and then came home, I realized that I was the exception and not the rule. That there were many, many students that we were leaving behind every single day. And that in order to succeed academically, you have to feel safe on campus. You have to feel welcomed on campus. You have to have an environment that welcomes every aspect of who you are and how you show up every single day in order to achieve academic success. So that's why I will continue to support and defend this work every single day.
You see her look right at me.
And Ms. Cleet, you discussed this work as messy. It's supposed to be messy. It's not supposed to be easy. If any of this work was easy, if any of this work was comfortable, we wouldn't be doing it right.
Directly
So thank
talking
you
to
for the work
somebody.
you do every single day. I just want to reiterate my full commitment to this work, my continued commitment. And I want to thank you again for all of
You got it, sister.
Other comments, questions from the board? Ms. Cratchit?
Thank you for the overview that you provided today. That was a
Let's hear what Orangeville's community member actually thinks.
everyone who came and gave us input, especially to the two students. Really appreciate that you're taking agency of your life and being so active as students, as well as the parents who came and commented about your real lived experience. I really appreciate your input. There was a lot that we heard today, and so I also took some notes. So bear with me as I look at those. I think it was fortuitous that we began this meeting with having the report and having the chance to recognize the importance of art and social work, and then coming to have this conversation about equity. We can see that improving student achievement includes matters of the heart, as well as the need to address improvements to the human condition. And so it's just kind of this broad scope, so I appreciate all of those things today. I am also pleased to hear about all of our community partners, and thank you for those of you who are here to talk about what you're doing. Particularly, I wrote down some of the positive data points for improving your tomorrow,
And for them, it's very impressive that you're working with the youth from grade 6 all the way to college. I can see how that support for all of those years leads to the great results that you have. So thank you for sharing that. As a board member and as reflecting on the data points that we have received over the last 3 months that I've been on board, particularly the LCAP presentation that we had last time, one of my biggest concerns is student achievement and seeing the data points elevated for our district. And so what I would like to do is, probably not today because I don't know how we have this information, but I would like to see how our efforts in equity relate to the LCAP goals and improving student achievement.
Exactly.
Part of what you do is not measurable. We heard a lot of anecdotal data. My colleague shared her experience. I have my own growing up, free and reduced lunch and English learner, some of the other things that I've shared before. So I absolutely appreciate all of the anecdotal data. But I would really like to see how we can measure this in terms of student achievement.
You can.
And when we look at equity, and then we start planning ahead to our budget and what schools have, which programs. Last time we heard about some teacher development that was really successful for English learners or learning to read. And then today someone else highlighted some other professional development opportunities. I'd like to see how those are available to all of the schools and be equitable across all of the different areas within the school district. So I don't know if I'm making sense here, but I would like to connect all of the activities that the equity department is doing and see what the outcome is for our student performance.
Yeah.
I noticed that the budget for this program is about 1.3 million, and I don't know if that includes some of our community partners or what all is involved, and that could be really big budget or really small, depending on what it is that we're doing.
It's
So
just money.
I would just like to
give it to
come
them.
back to this report and tie it into how it is contributing or how it's affecting
I
students.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Superintendent Bassanelli. Dr. Calvin, can you elaborate a little bit more on the budget that supports the equity work?
Certainly. So the bulk of the money comes from supplemental, which is part of the LCAP dollars that are generated by our unduplicated students. Part of it is from our SEES program. We're no longer in SEES because we have raised our performance data up. SEES is when the state identifies us for being disproportionate in certain areas. For example, we were disproportionate in our suspensions for African American students. So we are allocated dollars that we are mandated to spend to address that issue. Again, and the supplemental is also unduplicated dollars produced by our unduplicated students. So in each instance, these are monies allocated by the state where we are required to address the needs of our students who qualify. We also use title dollars, which are federal dollars that are also generated for our marginalized students. So all of those pots
Title IX money.
are used to address those
LGBT, Black, all the above.
And I just want to add a little bit more information. So the dollars that are included on the cover page tonight are centralized dollars that the department uses to deploy throughout the district. Every single school does a data analysis where they look at their targeted populations and they develop plans and allocate resources based off the needs that are within that unique school population. So I wanted to share that because equity isn't a program that only comes out of the equity department. Equity is a part of each and every person's work throughout the district in order to support the learning for all of our students. So every single school in the district looks at
It's way more money than that, is what she's saying.
through a lens of equity, looking at who is progressing, who is struggling, and then they do a deeper dive to identify what are the areas that are in order to address those barriers to student learning so that students can achieve to their highest potential. So I wanted to share it because it's not, we're talking about partnerships and programs that are centrally deployed, but equity isn't a program per se. It is all of our work for the district.
Okay, that's a very vague statement, but sure.
Mr. Miller.
It's a leftist answer.
Thank you, and I just wanted to thank you for the very comprehensive presentation.
And Mr. Miller.
I didn't even know what questions to ask.
I don't even pay attention enough to ask a question. I'm just here. My name is Mr. Miller. Look for me again.
I have some questions.
I don't have any idea what I'm doing here.
But it's getting late, so.
Let's just call it a day. Fuck it, it's late. We'll look for it.
A lot of thoughtful explanation and discussion. Call it back. Thank you.
It's late, it's cool.
Mr. Amy.
Thank you very much. So,
Here's my favorite homosexual.
I appreciated going to the beginning of the Winter Equity Summit just a few weeks ago. Sorry I couldn't stay longer.
Yeah, you had
I
to go
will
to a
say
BLM
something, I
rally.
want to learn more because it's something that I'm trying to better understand.
Yeah, your white privilege got in the way, Ben.
I kind of echo Ms. Kravchuk's comments
Oh, do you,
with
Ben?
regard to because I think in some ways it falls into inclusion and belonging, making sure people feel welcomed on campuses, people have a place on campus because that's going to facilitate their learning. But then also looking at, are we achieving our original goal?
No.
Addressing the barriers, are we addressing the disproportionality in the outcomes? Specifically in our most marginalized schools. So I think we have
He's like, we have to do more.
And so I
Ben's like,
think
we're not doing
that's
enough.
where I would like to learn in future presentations more about what is the impact to outcomes, however they're measured. Is it graduation rates? Is it promoting through grades? Is it GPA? Is it college? I don't know what the metrics are, but I think if we can learn more about those in presentations, because I think that speaks to the outcomes of the program, while also
They're gonna
talking
graduate
about
black
the
people
inclusivity and
because they're
belonging.
black. Even if they can't read or write.
A couple just small notes.
They're not gonna suspend them anymore either
Family
for
student
school.
voice, because of its relation to the LCAP, I do think, I'm sure you're already doing this, but connections to the site councils. I think site councils are a great place for local voice in addition to the listening circles. Like, you guys have a lot of groups you're talking to, let's make sure we include the site councils, if not already.
They won't.
Identity clubs. I think they're important. I think they are a place for people that feel isolated.
Yeah.
To find a place where they belong.
Yeah.
And I understand that.
Christian,
I
there we
think where we have to be careful is at some point we have to bring everybody back to the group. I think that's
Thank you.
why I
Thank
like
you,
to
Ben.
hear about the Black Student Unions programming, where they kind of reached back out into the community, brought everybody back in. Because we don't want to create isolated groups, right? We want belonging, but then we also want belonging within the group. So it's a balance, and I know it's hard, but I think we've all seen in society where we can segment ourselves too much. So it's a balance.
Damn, I feel like giving
And
Ben
then just
props on that.
some of the other
He
more
answered that
specific
question pretty good.
questions. I think
Good for Ben and Tanya. Fuck.
Questions and answers that came in. I think that was helpful for me, and some of the questions I have. I think a common one I hear is, are we reducing standards, or are we helping people live up to what they
Reducing standards.
about the International Baccalaureate Program?
Thank you.
In that case, are you changing the standards to get in, or are you
Yep.
figuring out how to help the student?
Nope.
So I think those are the things
Sticking them in and
talk more.
they can't read or write or do math, but they'll just put them in
That's where
college.
either there's confusion.
Throw them in the government, give them a federal job.
Talk through it and help people understand what it is. I think we'll have a more community productive conversation
Yeah.
about where we need to be.
Right on.
I don't know if any of that makes sense.
It does to me.
Yeah, I would just like to add that when Superintendent Basanelli talked about the fact that it's a district-wide effort, it's supplemental services and wraparound services that we provide for all our students throughout our system in addition to core. So sites are gonna look at their data and they're gonna determine what their individual needs are.
Yeah.
And they're gonna tap into these programs and services that we provide and make accessible to them. We share a lot of qualitative data, just the student voice, the parent voice, but we do also look at other indicators.
No peer-reviewed articles, no scientific surveys,
All
no.
of those factor in.
Just,
and we
we ask
determine the
parents,
success of our
how do you
programs
feel
and
about
what
this?
services we want to continue to provide for our students. I mentioned that we were identified by the state as disproportionate because of our suspension rates for African Americans.
Yeah, I wonder why that
We called
is.
out on that and told to address that.
Yeah, we call them
Those
out.
rates have dropped.
Let's get those federal numbers up, huh?
So
Let's get that
we do
money,
have
baby.
that qualitative and
Let's get that money.
quantitative data that we do.
We make sure we won't get the federal grant money if we're still suspending Black people.
Ms. Costa.
Thank you to the staff.
What a joke.
here
What a
and the
fucking
staff
joke.
On school sites who are doing this work every day. Thank you to the students who offered their voices who are here tonight, and to the students throughout the district. Every time I hear students talking about this work, they are so eloquent, and it gives me such hope for the future.
Casa Rubble's pretty good at speaking. Mayor Loma, not so
Thank
much.
you to our community partners. You make a difference. And when you look at those numbers, I just kept writing wow with sticky notes.
What numbers?
Page after page, because you are amazing.
I'll give them
When I think back to where we started in the
too fat to clap.
of Margaret Fortune doing this work in the district, and I look at the work described in this report, it gives me hope that every student will have their academic and social and emotional needs met and be a part of the school community and know that they are part of the school community. What I saw is a carefully designed tapestry of allies and voices speaking out and supporting our students, community partnerships, collaborative work network of district departments, student voices and engagement, parent voices, meaningful professional development, everything woven together carefully by a comprehensive support network for our students. And that is what will make a difference in student achievement. I was not able to attend the CSBA conference this year, but through the magic of technology, I've been able to listen to the presentations. And one of the presentations by
Life-changing, I
Brandon
bet, man.
Fleming, who wrote the book Miseducated, talked about how he was a drug dealer, how
Oh,
he
must have been
was
Black.
beaten on a daily basis in his home, how he was a child of trauma and a child of the streets, and how he really, tried to commit suicide, how he tried to fit in, how he never fit into the school system. And then, through the care and love of a teacher who wouldn't give up, who found a way to connect him through Black history, Black authors, so that he learned how to read and write, and went on to Harvard.
His book.
I think about that, and I think, that is student achievement, but it begins from the heart. It begins from connection. It begins from community. And then this weekend, as if we didn't have this wonderful report, there was a Sacramento Bee article about our English language learners at Dyer Kelly and at Star King. And it talked about, again, the community, building a network of support for the students, so that the students and their families were supported and were able to belong, and then met the academic achievement. So your work is beyond noble. I have great hope for our district because of the work you're doing. Thank you so much. It's true.
Can't use the
Thank you. I'm going to be very brief, and I'll just say thank you for everybody that made comment here tonight. My colleagues, I appreciate your questions. I'm going to take a complete sidebar from this presentation and focus on really just one. And before I do that, I just want you to know I attended that conference we went to, and I specifically went to a presentation from a school district down in Southern California, and their presentation was based on their ability to communicate to their parents. 90% of their entire school district was of one culture. And they were being praised as a district because when there was an issue, the district had an advocate that would address those concerns, whatever they were. And I started thinking to myself, hey, wait a minute, we have that too.
And our FACE department does exactly the same thing. And as a board member, you have no idea that most of the communication that comes to us from a parent or a child, mostly a parent, there's an issue. And to be able to have a FACE department, an advocate for that parent, an advocate for that student, that's going to address that issue, whatever it is, and to be able to help these people understand we're listening to you. Maybe they don't hear what they want to hear as far as an answer, but they are being heard all the time. So my thanks is a special part of to thank the FACE department that helps that is an advocate, and as a board member, such a relief to know that we had somebody to address the issues of our district first. And in my mind, they are our first line of defense to help parents and these students, whatever the issue may be. So thank you, appreciate it, appreciate your report.
I do have some notes. And I'm gonna start with, it's more than a feeling. We don't just want our students and our team to feel included and feel accepted. We need them to be included and be accepted, because seeing swastikas and what was it, the no black policy that came down at one of our high schools, that wasn't a feeling, that really actually happened. So we need that to not happen, and we need to be what we say we're gonna be. And I wanna say I'm sorry, because I know that some really hurtful things were said in this room, and I'm gonna call that out, and I'm gonna put that out there. My heart is with all y'all, and you are great, you are fabulous. You keep doing
She's Hillary Clinton, yes.
100% of the time, you are beautiful. So I know some hurtful things were said, and I know my heart hurts with you, but I'm here with you. Just know that, okay? We're gonna keep on doing this work.
Yeah.
Now, equity and equality. There's this graphic. I know there's a lot of
I sure got to her, didn't
There's
I?
one that I think is really
She
good,
hates
very
me.
problematic. And I'm gonna try to
She's
explain.
ghetto trash.
Everyone, there could be people, a short person, a tall person, someone with special needs. If you give everyone a 10 speed, the same size, the same capabilities, not everyone can get from point A to point B. But if you give everyone a bike that really meets their, for short people, someone with special needs, for tall people, so they can all actually get to point B, then we all get there together. I've said it once and I will say it over and over and over again. Our communities are stronger when individuals thrive, and we have to stop the hate rate. I'm not here for it. It's
Listen
100%
to this
unacceptable.
hood trash,
We need to
broad.
come together in community. We need to be accepting of each other. And if you can't do that, then you maybe need to check yourself. Because we're here for these kids, and that's our #1 job. And keep in mind too, we really need to make sure that our staff is supported as well. So they can be and show up the best they can for our kids. 100% of the time, even when it's hard. So I'm gonna be all over the place because I was writing all kinds of notes, but I'm gonna say them all.
I pissed her off, boy.
We heard, yes, I'm going to take the time to make my notes. This is a very important, read my notes, this is a very important comment, or topic. We heard last board meeting, very disturbing outcomes, right? In our LCAP report, nobody can done it, all of us up here. We have work to do, and it's not,
Yeah.
these are not problems unique to SJUSD or California. It's a national problem.
No, it's New York and California.
Our outcomes need to be better. We need to make sure that our kids, when they leave our doors, really do have what they need, the foundation to thrive, that they really can get a good job with, not just any job, a family supporting wages, benefits, that they have what they need to thrive. We're doing a lot of great work, 100%, but we have work to do. That was the why last week, or 2 weeks ago. Why are we doing this work? That was the why, and this is the what. And so I think it's important to point that out. For those that maybe didn't see it, it's worth taking a look. The whole child approach is a real thing. It is really hard for kids to focus on their education and thrive when they're hungry. They don't have the support at home. They don't have rent, their parents can't pay rent. Parents working multiple jobs and can't provide the support that they need. I mean, hell, I can't help my kid with his math. And I have an MBA. I don't even understand.
Affirmative action graduation.
That's 100%. That's my vulnerability. I
So
don't even
sad.
understand what's happening.
So sad.
So
A master's and can't do
if
math.
we really want to see
Disgusting.
outcomes improve, we
Yeah,
have
an
to take a
MBA,
whole child
Master's in
approach.
Business
And this is what we're
Administration.
seeking to do through this work.
And can't do math.
And not one size fits all. We need to meet each individual child where they're at and support their family so the family can support their child. And it's important work. I do want to talk about data because data is important. Even at the statewide level, there's been investments in the new cradle to career data system, which is so important because we need to have a better understanding of what are the outcomes for what we're investing in. So we're not continuing to invest in things that are not working. But what made me really happy tonight is that we heard that a lot of what we are doing is working. And of course, there's room to improve because our outcomes aren't what we all want them. Nobody in this room wants our outcomes to continue to be what they are. We just don't.
Yeah, well,
So
let's
of course, we have more work
focus
to
on
do. And there
that.
is, data is incredibly important. But I think that we've heard a lot of evidence to the benefit of the good work.
It's garbage. I'm gonna piss her off again, I can't wait.
I think I'll just end it with, I'm committed to this work. I know very hurtful things were said. I'm here for everybody. Holler at me. I'm around. We can have a conversation. I can give you a hug. We can do whatever we need to do to make sure that our kids and our families have what they
Make
need
everybody mad.
so that they can thrive outside of these doors.
2 more minutes with me.
So thank you for the
And then
presentation.
I with my voice.
And yeah, we are at item I2, instructional materials updates. Ms. Schnell.
Probably like 9 o'clock. Zima's pissed.
I know.
She's pissed.
Good evening, President Creasy, members of the board, Superintendent Bassanelli, and Ms. Cunningham. Tonight, we will be sharing information regarding the decision-making processes that support the adoption, the implementation, and ongoing support for adopted instructional materials. Joining me tonight
I respect
is
it.
Director
I
of
respect it.
Professional Learning
We're just fighting a different
Innovation,
battle, but I respect it. Do your thing, girls. Do your thing. I'm just losing. I'm trying to win. Try it.
Thank you, and good evening. To set some initial context for this presentation, a version of it was presented to Curriculum and Standards in January as a launch to the Professional Learning and Curriculum Department's CNS Curriculum Series. This series came directly from feedback that we received from the committee at the beginning of the school year. This presentation supported the CNS committee's understanding of the curriculum, instruction, and professional learning landscape in San Juan, so Superintendent Bassanelli recommended that it be shared with the board to lay the groundwork for the instructional materials recommendations that will be brought to you in April. In the context of instructional materials adoptions, the CNS committee provides valuable thought partnership to our department, especially in regards to elevating community voice and ensuring that this voice is embedded throughout our adoption process. They also vet and approve each recommendation before they are presented to the board for discussion and action. Tonight, I hope to take you on a journey that will consist of 3 parts. First, the parameters and conditions under which we operate when arriving at instructional materials recommendations. Second, the essential elements that we need to take into consideration during this process. And finally, the process and long-term plan that guides us each step of the way. With that said, let's get started. Before we embark on our journey, we have to consider the rules of the road. When it comes to instructional materials adoptions, those rules exist in both state legislation and board policy. In addition to our rules of the road, we always have to be mindful of road conditions. These are the factors that shift a bit more easily than legislation and board policy, and as such, we must always be considering them in order to be responsive to our community's needs. As you can see, we take into consideration factors such as existing commitments within our district, our shared beliefs and collaborative agreements, the local context under which we're operating, and the internal processes and procedures that structure our work. In terms of our rules of the road that set the parameters for instructional materials adoptions, some examples of state legislation include the state's action on our adopted standards, the legislative timeline for instructional framework and state curriculum adoptions, state mandated graduation requirements such as the ethnic studies graduation requirement that will be in effect in the coming years, and any content requirements in our curriculum, such as the FAIR Act, which drives inclusive social studies curriculum, and the California Healthy Youth Act, which outlines required content in our comprehensive sexual health materials. In addition, our board policy drives local decisions such as our local graduation requirements and our policies and timeline for adopting instructional materials, which prescribes that in grades K through 8, we adopt from the state-approved curriculum list within 36 months of state instructional materials adoption. We'll get to that a little bit more later. While the rules of the road are generally fixed, the conditions under which we operate are often more flexible and require us to be responsive to the changing needs of our community. For example, when we are engaged in the adoption process,
Appreciate you, buddy.
we take into consideration our 8-point commitment for educational justice, the collective bargaining agreements with our labor groups, relevant events such as the pandemic and ongoing staffing shortages, our budget, including multi-year projections, and our internal procedures for adopting instructional materials.
Yeah, not live from the moment you get in.
Continuing with our journey analogy, we can connect the elements of our instructional materials review and adoption process to something we're all likely very familiar with, Google Maps. Moving to the essential elements of our instructional materials journey, it's important to understand how different components work together to guide us. First, there are our state-adopted standards. These could be standards such as the Common Core for English Language Arts and Math, our Next Generation Science Standards for Science, or state-written content standards for different areas such as world languages, arts, and PE. No matter the content area, our standards are our destination. They are the goals for student learning in the content areas at each grade level or course. Instructional frameworks, which are written and approved after the content area standards are determined and revised on a legislated timeline, offer guidance for the ways we support students through instruction to successfully arrive at their destination, again, the standards. The frameworks offer instructional recommendations based on relevant research and public input and feedback. Finally, when we engage in the instructional materials adoption process, we are recommending core curriculum that will be provided to all teachers for a grade level or course. This is like our vehicle that gets us around wherever we need to go. These materials are resources that support teachers and students on the journey to standards proficiency. However, it's important to note that curriculum in isolation is never an adequate teacher. The use of curriculum requires a skilled professional to determine how to leverage resources and use the instructional practices, often those recommended in the instructional frameworks, that will move student learning forward. In addition to the essential elements, there are also aspects of our journey that benefit from some enhancement. In thinking about curriculum and instruction, one way to enhance the journey is through supplemental resources. Sometimes the sedan isn't going to get us where we want to go. These are additional and or different resources that support student learning based on what the instructor notices about their students' needs. However, as with core curriculum, the goal of using supplemental resources is still always the destination, students' proficiency in the standards. Another way the journey can be enriched is by learning in community with other professionals. Through professional learning, educators have opportunities to explore their resources more deeply, engage in planning and assessment design, get ideas from their colleagues, and determine new or different ways to meet their students' needs. When determining what professional learning, moving on to the next slide. Just like any vehicle purchase, we need a regular maintenance plan for our curriculum. This is governed by a variety of factors. A couple of factors that determine that maintenance plan are, of course, our finances, our multi-year budget projections. Additionally, we need to take into consideration other important factors, such as not adopting English and math in the same year for our elementary grades. However, one important consideration that always drives our planning in the long term is the relationship between the state process and our local process. First, the state needs to adopt an instructional framework. Once that occurs, because it includes recommendations for instructional materials, the state then initiates their process for adopting instructional materials, which can often take 1 to 2 years, usually on the longer side, closer to 2 years. Once the state adopts their instructional materials, our board policy requires us to engage in a local process where we adopt our instructional materials within 36 months of the state's action. On this slide, you can see an image of our adoption matrix, also offered in your board packet as an attachment. This shows our planned instructional materials adoptions through the 27-28 school year. As you can see, the state timeline for framework and materials adoptions is on the top of each column, illustrating how our state frameworks, materials adoptions, and local adoptions are linked together. This matrix is continually updated in response to our local context, and the updated version is posted online for our community to view. You can always access an up-to-date version at the link on this slide. The vast majority of our adoptions follow this specific process, which includes an extensive vetting of all publisher submitted materials, including question and answer opportunities with our publishers. Through that vetting process, our committees, which include staff members, community members, select materials to pilot in classrooms. During that pilot period, materials are used with students in 6 to 8 week cycles, depending on a variety of factors. And our curriculum team hosts community review and feedback opportunities. The piloting and feedback process results in a recommendation for adoption, which is then prepared for our Curriculum and Standards Committee and the board. If approved, the team implements the support plan, which includes initial summer professional learning, as well as opportunities to collaborate all year as teachers plan with their new materials. During this entire process, which takes approximately 18 months from start to finish, the team communicates with staff and families on an ongoing basis and collects feedback throughout the vetting and piloting stages from staff, students, and community members. Often, our CNS committee members take part in this process as well, sitting on committees and offering feedback on the materials being considered for adoption. There will be a number of opportunities for our team to share more information with CNS and the board as we move into the spring. The team will be giving ongoing curriculum updates to our CNS committee through May. We will also be bringing a K-12 math update to the board in March. And in April, we will bring our recommendations to the board for this year's instructional materials adoption and our proposed new high school courses. At this time, President Creason, I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Thank you for the report. Any questions, comments from the board? Mr. Reed.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just have 2 questions. First, I saw the collective bargaining agreements. How does that play into the curriculum?
I think one of the things that we really need to be considering in relationship to our collective bargaining agreements and our relationship with our labor groups is that there really needs to be a process of input. So number one, we need to ensure that teachers are well represented on all of the adoption committees. And then we also need to make sure that our teachers have input and choice in terms of the professional learning that's offered once those materials are adopted.
Why should they have?
Yes, and I messed up, and there was a public comment, and I should have taken that first. So if we could pause, I apologize for that. Ms. Ryan, can we please facilitate public comment? Reminder of it's 2 minutes.
We do have one public comment, Jeffrey Perrin.
So I had zero qualms letting her finish. I was listening. I have zero issues with letting her finish her speech.
No, we're going to stick with protocol, and I apologize.
Thank you, Ms. Creason. Go. So again, Jeffrey Perrine. I'm here to simply voice my concerns. I went to the Curriculums and Standards Committee that I'm trying to join, trying to be a part of, because apparently we can't get the quorum done because no one else is wanting to go. So I have my hand up. I know that I might be extreme because apparently you have to be super pro-LGBT or far left like Ms. Creason if you want to be on a committee. But I'm telling you, we need equity in terms of representation. Okay, you guys talk about equity and curriculum and all this stuff and combining, and I'm listening to it. There's no equity of thought, okay? What I hear is all a bunch of leftist propaganda garbage, Marxist crap. I see the curriculum. I mentioned it at the meeting. I talked about it. Got Women Empowerment Group. You got all these other groups that we're dealing with. Where's the Young Boy Club? Where's the club to teach a young boy how to be a young man? You know, got all these women empowerment groups, all these identity groups. Where's the young Christian group where a young Christian can feel safe? Everyone I'm seeing on these campuses all have pride stickers on their chest walking around. A Christian person's not going to feel safe walking up and talking to a teacher, okay? So let's talk about equity in terms of it all. That's what I wanted to address first off. But the curriculum, we need to get quorum going. The parents aren't being represented, okay? You guys can't even get your minutes straight because you don't have enough people to vote. Step up, get some people on the board, get some people on the committee. I don't really care who it is at this point, but the parents need a voice because they're not being represented at all when you guys can't even adopt minutes. I know you hate me, but at least I'll show up to a minute and I'll listen and I'll participate in it like I'm supposed to be allowed to do as a member of this community, okay? I've never threatened anyone here. I've never harmed anyone here, okay? I have simply showed up, voiced myself as a concerned member of this community. And I think that the curriculums and standards needs equity and representation, okay? All I see is pro-homo stuff, and I don't give a crap whether or not that's politically correct or not. I am a Christian-based ethos man, and my community feels the same way as I do. Put someone on these boards that think like us. Thank you.
Next up, we have Jennifer Morgan.
We took your district. You ain't getting it back either. So we took your district. McKibben's not going to get shit back.
Hi, me again. Just want to remind everybody that I'm a parent. I've been on the Curriculum and Standards Committee for quite a number of years, actually. There is diversity of thought represented on there. We have people from all different types of backgrounds. There are many parents. There are all kinds of folks that are on there. So again, if you have the opportunity to actually observe and participate first before taking a single snapshot of a single moment and taking that as color for an entire broader picture, perhaps that might be something we might want to be considering as a group when we're appointing people to these committees.
That was our final public comment.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Again, apologize to my colleagues for going out of order. Mr. Raby.
This is more of just a process question. I just saw February to May will be Curriculum and Standards Committee Curriculum Series, but I think I saw that it'll be coming to the board in April. Those kind of overlap. Will the materials be coming with the recommendation from the Curriculum and Standards? Like, how's that work on time?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. To clarify, I will say this. So at the beginning of the year in September, when we worked with our Curriculum and Standards Committee on just getting their input for the year, they really indicated that they just wanted to be take more of a learner stance instead of being a body that just provides recommendations all the time. And so the team gathered together and decided to do kind of a curriculum update series so that each content area would provide curriculum and standards with an update around just kind of how previous adoptions have gone, because there was an interest in that, and what professional learning is being offered in different content areas and items that are of interest to the committee. And so that kicked off in January with kind of a version of this presentation. And then our curriculum teams have been offering presentations, and that will continue through May. But sort of separate from the instructional materials adoption that will be coming to the board in April, Curriculum and Standards will also hear that report. The date of that is March 22nd, where the teams will bring the committee's recommendations for a variety of curriculum adoptions. So they're related ideas, but they're also kind of separate activities, if that makes sense.
I should bring all my friends too. Show up at all.
Them to get somebody. Really enjoyed your roadmap analogy. Thanks for presenting it. That was very easy to understand. On slide 5, weather and road conditions, what do you mean when you're referring to SJUSD commitments?
That's really thinking about, like, for example, the 8-point commitment to educational justice. We ensure that we weave those ideas into our adoption process where they make sense to do so. In the past, we've also really looked at things like our strategic plan, our mission, our vision, our shared beliefs, those items that as a community we come together and create and then use to inform our decisions moving forward.
Okay, so not like financial commitments or like ideological or?
No, not at all. It's just what our community agreements as a San Juan team.
On slide 10, you're talking about enhancing the journey and supplemental curriculum, additional or different instructional resources that teachers use.
Is there,
That's what we're
like,
trying to be a part of.
money that's associated with it? I always wonder, do teachers have, how much money do they get in order to be able to supplement the curriculum?
I think that answer depends. So, in general, supplemental curriculum is site funded, so sites would use their budget. If there was something that, for example, a digital product that a school wanted to purchase because it filled a need that they had. We have, in some cases, we've purchased district-wide supplemental curriculum that meets a need that we've identified as a whole district. That doesn't happen as often. But in regards to teachers getting like a separate allocation for supplemental materials in general, that's not necessarily how that's approached. It's mostly site funded and site agreed upon, or grade level wants something that they really believe will meet the needs of their students. And then they work through their site council and their leadership team in order to meet that.
Nobody here that supports my value system.
Expanding on the topic of equity and thinking about some schools that don't have PTAs or, don't have parents that are as involved and will fund things, just thinking of how teachers.
There's nothing left for the taxpayers to pay for.
All right, a few more. Slide 13, the initial curriculum vetting. Will this be available to view and comment for the public?
Yes, we do provide public comment opportunities in all of our process. So the first part that happens during that vetting is often we will have kind of a pre-screening process for any materials that are submitted by publishers to be considered for adoption. Oftentimes that will look like kind of an open house event where people can come and look at the materials, and that we work with our communications team to advertise that. Or we make it's not really an or, especially through COVID, we've gotten very proficient at using our digital resources. And so the team will also make those materials available digitally for members of the community to preview. And then when the committee is deciding which materials of the kind of collective submissions they want to pilot, that review and feedback is analyzed, reflected upon, and considered when making that pilot decision. So, no, go ahead.
How do we inform parents of that? I don't think that as a parent myself, I've ever received information. Missed it somewhere, but how
They don't
do we
tell
inform
anybody.
parents it's available for them?
So lefties can.
That's also a great question. We work with our comms team really frequently to try to get the word out through social media, through our San Juan Scene newsletter. We share the information with principals to put it in our site newsletters so that those are going directly to families.
No one's getting those
We can
emails.
certainly, we're always also open to suggestions if there are other ways that we can reach out. We have in the past also worked with our comms team to do kind of an all call through the Blackboard system as well to make sure that parents get a phone call to know that those opportunities are happening.
And that will be before March 22nd or on or after?
That process has already kind of wrapped up because our committees are now in the recommendation phase. So those steps have been happening this year in relationship to the materials that are being considered currently. So at this time, the feedback period has completed because our committees have looked at all of that feedback and moved forward with recommendations that they'll be taking in curriculum and standards in March.
Okay, one more question.
Sure.
When you're piloting,
It's like as long as
the
this.
phase where you're piloting certain curriculums or different things, materials, are parents aware? And if they are, can they opt out? Like if a class is trying out something new and they're not really good with
Boy,
it?
I like you today.
Is it possible for them to say, I'm not comfortable with my child being like a guinea pig, for lack of a better word?
I mean, we don't offer opt-out opportunities necessarily because those are, that there's a lot of ed code that kind of governs what materials we provide opt-outs for, and that's typically comprehensive sexual health. If we're piloting those materials, that's definitely a yes. If we're piloting English materials, for example, no. I would say though, in terms of your question around communication, our teachers do typically ensure that their families know that there are new materials that the class is trying out, and work with families in that way through normal channels of communication.
Supplemental stuff during the day.
I would say the communication is dependent on what strategies the teacher typically uses, yes.
And the only reason my son got to show it to me is because he said he wouldn't answer it and the teacher made him.
I really appreciate the report of curriculum and
I
standards.
did a FOIA request.
For the board, the entire
They
curriculum
never
and standards
gave me the
committee
curriculum.
really
Can we
found
do
this
that on them? Can you teach me how to do it?
and
Can you teach me how to FOIA these people?
members who are former
I want to
educators
FOIA
asked
Zima,
questions
and every time she's mentioned my name.
that,
Can you help me do that?
So it was one of those presentations that really the committee thought
Ben
was
Avey, too.
extremely valuable. I think it's fantastic that we're getting this on video.
I just want to know what he
So
says.
that as new members are
All right. What about
selected
Paula?
to be part of curriculum.
She ran for
standards,
Senate.
they'll be able
Yeah,
to
but she ran
watch
for
the
Senate.
presentation, and I think it
Did she
can be
lose?
used for many years to come.
To the conservative, right?
This is a good foundational piece for what is happening with curriculum. On a totally, I don't want to throw you under the bus because I did it on curriculum standards, but for those of you who have elementary children, when you look at this adoption list,
Yeah. The board divided.
Yeah.
Remember that? She said she was gonna run.
it is not a fair decision, it is asked that it's passed
Yes.
on to the state. The state has to meet state standards.
No one really likes any babies.
There is a delay in the process, so kids will be using the contact books for much longer than 7 years. So that was interesting to me.
I need to find a church.
I thought as a board member I would have known that, but as I was listening to the presentation and looking at your dates, I asked the question. And I think
Start talking to pastors.
they're so, curriculum and standards is such a crucial part of the work.
That's why they don't want me on it.
And I think the more the 7 of us understand it, the more the community can understand it. Thank you for the presentation.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Thanks so much for the report. We are on item I3, Camp Winters fee increase. Ms.
Good evening again. On February 14th, if you remember, we discussed the need for fee increases for Camp Winters summer programs, fall programs, and also weekend.
All right, everybody, I'm gonna log off. It's been an eventful night. I'll do another live soon, and we'll update you guys on what occurred tonight, and I'll do a brief overview. All right? Appreciate you guys for the following. Talk to you soon. Prudent Patriot out.
It is, you're right.